Hello, and welcome to Viewfinders number 5. This is the live stream thing where I talk to people, talk to photographers, especially about car photography and whatnot. And we have a very special guest, James Lipman. I'm so excited to have James here. I mean, he's like when I started this project, not like it was that long ago. Like, I want to have James Lipman. I want to talk about the photos because he's like one of my biggest influences, one of my biggest heroes, and just someone I've always wanted to talk to. I think we've crossed paths closely at different times, maybe, but it's so exciting to have you here. So welcome. Thanks again. It's an honor to have you.
Pleasure. I'm mesmerized anyway, but yes, thank you for having me on.
Okay, well, just stop me when I make it weird.
I'm yeah, okay. It's all on me, but don't worry about it.
No, you're great. You're great. It is, yeah. So this is just like, this is such a thrill. A lot of times with these, I have guests and I have to look, I look through their website and I find their images and I love seeing the stuff and, going through portfolios. I love that. With James, I did that, but I already had images saved on my computer from 10, 11 years ago when I was doing nothing with this and just aspiring. And I have those photos. And so I brought some of them to look at, and I've got 20 photos here to go through. So we're gonna have to go quick because I've got 20 photos to go through, and half of them I'm like, how the hell did you do this? So we're gonna talk about, like, your style and, a little bit of technique. We're not talking gear and boring stuff. We're talking just like, what you do and your process. And we'll start off with, how did you begin shooting cars and getting paid for it?
Crikey. Okay. So long story short, I left school. I didn't go to university, which my parents were really unhappy about. And I did a course that was run by something called the NCTJ, which is it's National Council for the Training of Journalists. And the course was designed to put you into the newspaper industry. And so I did that. And then I got a job on a paper in London called Metro, which was a free paper. And the staff was all very young and it was very good fun. And I did that for a couple of years. And then I just thought, I'm not sure the newspaper industry is something that I'm going to be in 20 years. It just didn't look, the future looked pretty bleak at that point. And, but I was having a good time. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then I think I picked up just a copy of Performance VW off someone's desk. Someone had been reading this and I looked at it and I thought, I like what's in here because I like cars and I owned a Volkswagen and I was into, mucking around with it and stuff, but the photography was not very good. And I thought I could probably do better than this. So I contacted the editor of the magazine, who's a guy called Elliot Roberts. And I said, can I shoot some stuff for you? And he went, yeah, sure. I'll tell you what, do us find a car you like, do us a shoot. And if we like it, we'll pay for it afterwards. I thought that sounds very reasonable. So I did. And he liked it, and that was the beginning of that, basically. And I sort of feathered out the newspaper stuff and feathered in the car stuff.
Wow.
But it started with tuner magazines, which was, I think a lot of people got into this industry doing tuner stuff when they were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
How soon was that before, like, because you were with 0 to 60, did you help with that a little bit?
No, not at all. No, they hired me for a couple of jobs. I wasn't involved in it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't mean that you were there full time, but I mean, was this? So when was that timing? That was a couple of years after this, I suppose.
I'm really bad at this. I think it was like 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And so I started working in 2000 and I don't know. I probably started doing car magazine stuff in 2004.
Okay.
So. And I started by, I'd started off on PVW, on the Volkswagen magazine. And the way I sort of did my career trajectory, if you like, was I would overshoot not over show, I just was doing what I could do, but I would shoot. I'd look at the next magazine up in the food chain and go, if I can make this one look better than that one, and then that would get their attention. And it wasn't deliberate. It was something that I worked out over time. If you did nice work in this magazine, the person in the competing magazine or the magazine that was meant to be slightly up the food chain would be like, oh, okay, why is this now looking better than us? You know, and so Series of 60, when they phoned up, I think that might be the first overseas mag that I worked for. I couldn't believe it. I just was like, wow, you know. And they sent me on some really cool stuff. I did a job in Dubai they just were like, yeah, go to Dubai for like a week and they're like, what's the brief? And they're like, I don't know, just what do like Dubai car culture?
Wow.
Okay, cool. And so they were really, really fun to work for. I did, did that, and then I did a couple of bits with Chris Harris as well. Like we did a cover that sticks in my mind as something that's really fun. With the Ferrari doing a donut around.
I wanted to get that. I wanted to have that image to look at, and like I couldn't find it like large enough anywhere. Like that magazine doesn't exist now. So I couldn't find like an image of it, but it's a cool cover with the 360. Or no, it's the 458 Speciale and or maybe it's the regular 458 and the GT3 RS. It is so cool.
Yeah, I don't think it was a Speciale. It was too early for that.
It was too early for that. You're right. Yeah,
it was just a 458, and we got in trouble. We'd always, everything you do, you get. I mean, this is everything you do in the UK, you get in trouble because there's no space to do anything, right? It's not like you can go into like a derelict part of Detroit and like no one cares. Everywhere you go there, someone owns the land or you're on someone's property or something. And so we were doing this on like a military site, and this guy comes over and he's like, "What?" Just a disappointment on his face, like, "What are you?" You know, I think he drove in as Chris was doing one past this GT3. So he's like, "What are you?" Anyway,
wow.
So that I remember that pretty clearly. And he was like, "Please leave now."
Were you looking when you were rising up and you're looking at these other magazines and saying, I want to look better than that? I mean, it seems like, and I don't know your process, and I don't know, but it seems like you weren't looking at other people and what they were doing and other photos and saying, I want to do that. Like it seems like you kind of found your own voice and your own look. And I mean, it seems like self-driven. Like there wasn't people doing what you did. You didn't say, I want it to look like that. It was like, I'm just going to do the best that I can. And I don't know. Am I inferring too much or what?
No, not at all. No, I had a different way of doing it because I'd come through newspapers, right? So, I mean, whatever that did, it wasn't the same as what everyone was doing. And you've got to be careful going down the street, but I don't look at a lot of other people's work, and I do it deliberately. Actually, I don't do it because I don't want to be like, oh, I want that to look like that. There's no point doing that because you're going to end up looking like everybody else, right? So I just did what I thought looked good, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's bring some pictures on the screen, and this is and this is like going way back, and I don't know how to. There we go. This is so old. This was like when I came across your work. This crisp, like the lighting. I just thought this was so cool. This was so influential to me. I'm going
to be looking off to the side here because I've got it on my screen here, so I can have a look at it a bit bigger. But I can't. I just can't. I can tell you where this corner is because there's basically 8 roads in the whole of Wales that are any good, and this is one of them. But I can't remember who this was for. I think it was for Classic Cars magazine. But I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean.
I just love it. But the lighting, I mean, I had a question I wanted to ask because you live in California now. Right. Are you near Palm Springs kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, it seems like your look changed from going from the UK to California, and I mean, it seems like because you don't have sunlight in the UK, like you don't really. Do you shoot stuff like this? Like, would you shoot something like this now?
No, because this, to me, I look at this and it looks ancient, right? I mean, it's, I like it. I would have probably squared the foreground car up a little bit more. It's really, there's an OCD, there's a little bit slightly off,
Right.
slightly off to the left.
You always notice that when you're home retouching and not
yeah,
in the
exactly.
moment.
Like, I mean, it's close, but it's not.
It's close.
Yeah, the thing with the UK is you very rarely get light, right? I mean, when you do get the light, it's really good because it's normally very directional and there's often detail in the sky and stuff, and it's completely different to California where it's completely blue sky the whole time. So you don't get like this horrible blue sky wash across cars that you do in the US at midday. But this was the light is super flat, so all my early stuff was just throwing flash at it to try and get some shape into the car.
But you did it so effectively, and just it made everything look so crisp and cool. And yeah, it's not something I would try to emulate now because I tried emulating it at the time to no avail. But it's cool. And then the other thing I love is just how you arrange the cars. There's not a lot of good, like, you know what I mean? You can learn a lot about car photography and shooting and stuff. And then it's like someone throws you somewhere with, you got 5 minutes and 2 or 3 cars and you got to arrange them. And it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always love your arrangements and the compositions. Like it's just so cool that what you did with the size and perspective here.
I think the thing for this with me was a lot of the times, and it was easier to do a landscape photograph and dump a car in it afterwards, if that makes sense. So you set the shot up, you've got the S-bend of the road, you've got the water and the hill, and then you say, well, that's my shot, and now let's put a car in it. I think a lot of people start with a car and they go, wow, here's the car, and in it goes, and
you're blowing my mind.
But it was, I thought, because if you're into cars, you know this, what looks good. So if you set a shot up with, it's like a landscape photograph, and it has enough space to put the car in, if you know what the car, how the car can sit in it, then you've done 80% of the work before you've even wheeled the car into the shot. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, that's an incredible insight into just starting. We're like, okay, you know what I mean? Where it's like I've got all these cars, I've got to move them. Where do I look? It's like you don't even know where to start. And so that is a brilliant piece of thinking of where to start that I should have come across earlier. Let's keep going here. This was Derek Bell that you shot for one of the Porsche mags or Top Gear. A UK mag, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Again, just the lighting is just cool. Like it's just like a real moment. It's a great portrait and a great car portrait. I think this was
great story with that car. So that is his car that he got from.
Was it like a 928 edition, or it was like issued to him, like a special, or was it his gift car or something?
I'll tell you the story, and I hope I get this right because it's been a while. This is obviously another really old photograph, but it's so Derek Bell. It's fantastic. He didn't own the car anymore. We got it in for this shoot, and we put him with it and all this kind of stuff. It was for Porsche World magazine, which is
right.
Whatever, Porsche magazine in the UK.
I have a copy of it. I have a copy of one issue that has like
good.
Martini.
Yeah. It was nice. He's great. It was a nice mag. I used to do stuff for them with a guy called John Glynn, who's a writer. I did lots of stuff with John Glynn. It was really good fun. Anyway, so this car, Derek, he got his racing contract with Porsche, and they I think he said like he's in the canteen or something, and they go, here's a list of cars. Pick a car off the list because we can't have you driving around whenever you drive around. We've got to have you driving a Porsche. And he looks at the list and he goes, and he's like, well, I mean, in a week's time, they're worked out I'm a complete fraud. So I'm just going to take the most expensive thing I can. So he on the list, the most expensive thing was this 928. And he went, I'll have that. And that was the whole reason he got it. Because he was like, when I'm out of job in a week, I'll be able to say it. Racing. I was like, yes, what a legend.
That is amazing.
Yeah. It turned out to be really quite good at it, so it wasn't an issue. But yeah, that was that story with that car. And I mean, you can see it was raining at the time. It was really dark. It was like heavily overcast, classic British winter, freezing cold. Yeah, I mean, if you'd shot, I mean, there's a lot, you can see there's a lot of flash in that. If you shot that without the light, it would be so sad looking.
It would, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So there's a load of flash to separate it out from the background and get the raindrops to be a thing, and all that kind of stuff. So,
do you still use flash like in your kit for depending on the job?
Yeah, okay. I carry it with me all the time. Like, I don't think I could turn up on a job with just a camera. It would freak me out. But I not very rarely use it. I use it now in a way that's imperceptible, because I don't think stylistically now you can't really do that anymore. That was a total look of the time. That sort of high texture, like almost like ring lit from behind, if you like. But
right, that high key, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like highlights are really highlighty. I'll put flash in there if you can't see what it's doing, especially on metallic paints and stuff. If the sun just isn't behaving, then I'll stick in there for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that makes sense, especially looking at your work. This one, I remember there was a website that I loved that was called like Motoring Con Brio, and it was just like some guy's blog assembling cool pictures and stuff. And he had a few things about you on there, and or he'd have like a weekly roundup of pictures. But I remember this photo set, like, this was Steve McQueen's 930, and it was like a cool gray, and you shot it in California, and it was a great photo set. But I love this shot. I love this. It's not a Dutch angle. It's just like a really cool perspective of the Fuchs, or people say it differently, of the wheel. And I think your work over the years probably like played a part in me being into Porsches in general, just because of like how you captured them, So I've already spoken way too much about this picture, but if you have anything, please.
Picture of a wheel. It's so nice. I remember shooting the car. I don't even remember taking that picture. This is an ancient picture again. And I think they're going to get more.
We'll get to newer ones. We'll get to newer ones in a minute.
I think we had a couple of hours to shoot this car. We just did it on the side of Laguna Seca, I think.
It definitely looks like Carmel area.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because the story was like, here's Steve McQueen's 930, and it turned out he didn't particularly like the car. It wasn't something that he wasn't that into it. So okay, but it was a cool car. I mean, it's a slate grey 930. I think it's a special order color on that model, and I'm glad you like it. Again, there's flash in that.
Right. But it's a little more subtle. It just adds this pop to the picture, but it's not like, oh, there's the flash and this is the direction it's coming from. It adds this intensity kind of to the whole thing.
Yeah. And it's all about trying to hide the fact that you don't know. I'm not hiding the fact there's flash and that there's flash all over it, but hiding the pings and stuff, deal with it, but just trying to make sure that it doesn't look too much like it's being splattered with light, which it totally does. But, yeah.
So I wanted to ask, have you ever seen photos out in the world where you're like, that's my style, like this is like, that is like, they're doing they're doing my thing, or and I don't know, like, because you kind of go your own way. So I wonder if when you see that out in the world, you're like, I didn't shoot that, but it looks, has that happened? And you don't even seem like the type that would be upset by it, but just you've noticed it. Have you noticed it?
Yeah, I guess so. But then I don't know, there's a lot of people out there, so I don't know whether they're, look at this and I go, could be that. Yeah, I mean, maybe if someone else has taken my stuff and they've enjoyed it and they've turned it into something of their own, that doesn't. Maybe. I mean, the question is, have I seen it? The answer is, I don't really know. But if I have, I don't think it would have registered in my brain.
I've
had situations where people have just straight up ripped my stuff off. Like we had a situation with. don't know if I'm meant to be naming names here. Petrolicious? I'm just going to say Petrolicious, but it was a poster that they did for a drive-in going to Monterey Car Week a couple of years ago, and I looked at this poster and I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's my picture, and it was a drawing of a photo I'd taken.
Oh yeah, I saw that they interviewed you because I saw that when I was researching for this.
Yeah.
And they posted that picture, so they obviously really liked it.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like I just come up with your own ideas. Is what I'm trying to go with this, but it all got settled down. It was that. Yeah.
Well, as you said, there's a lot of people out there. I'm always finding new people, and it's like, wow, there's so many talented people, and it's just like, but it's good.
Yeah.
So this is another one. I think this is one of the last of these like ones that you shot a million years ago in the UK. But again,
buckets
the
of
car,
in it.
The composition, like just is cool. And there was another shot I didn't include because I really couldn't confirm that it was you, but it was like this, but it was like 20 Porsches and they were all brightly colored and stuff.
Possibly it could have been a cover for the same magazine, but a different issue. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think this was that same Porsche magazine. So did you light each of these individually and then composite them together?
No, I owned two very powerful Elinchron flashes that could overpower the sun, and I just put one on the left and one on the right, and just let them have it like that. So
let them have it.
Let them have it. Yeah. Crank it up to 11 and send it. Yeah, no, that's just two flashes at a 250th of a second, broad day, and that is a sunny day, right? That's as you say a rare sunny day in the UK. I was about to say a rare sunny day. It's not that rare, but that's that. There's things I wouldn't do now. Like, can you see the double shadow at the bottom? I just can't abide the double shadow thing.
Yeah.
I really like. At the time, it was cool. Those cars were so good though. The CTR. The guy. Yeah, he drove that over from Belgium. And the whole story was like, these things do 200 miles an hour. Let's do 200 miles an hour. So he rolls up in this thing, just goes out, does 200 miles an hour down that runway. And then he's like, oh, it's really cool. Comes back and just does it like another 30 times. Just does another, like, just can't stop doing 200 mile an hour passes. And I was thinking, maybe they were 180 miles an hour, I don't know, whatever they were up there. And that's a car from the 80s that does enormous speeds. There aren't any cars from the 80s that will do that 30 times and not break. And then he just drove it back to Belgium in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So cool. Number one car.
Yeah. What is that location?
It's Scabby Airfield called Bruntingthorpe that I shot at a lot. And it's got, that was it was an American Air Force base during the Cold War. So that runway is like 6 foot thick concrete all the way down for like miles, and it's flat, and it's for landing nuclear bombers on, right? So it's a proper thing. And it was the things we did there, like so dangerous. And
I mean, what is it used for now? Just photos?
Yeah. So they used to rent it out for car storage, and that business got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they brought an auction house on site, and I think now it's just filled with cars, defleeted leased cars and stuff. I haven't been there for 10 years. I don't know, but when we were there, it was empty, and it was really, really cool. And the guy that owned it collected Cold War jets. So over your left shoulder, as I took that picture, was this scattered sort of array of just mad, rotting jets, and there was a 747 parked there, and it was really cool. It was a really cool place, yeah. And we did a lot of like really nutty stuff there that was very dangerous, but everyone lived, and it was good fun. So. And you got
to use that because someone just talked to them and was like, "Hey, can we?"
Well, no, they had a day rate set up with them. They used to pay them for it.
Okay.
I don't think it was a great deal of money. I think they worked out pretty quick that they could make much more money storing defleeted BMWs than letting us use the entire track for whatever it cost. So,
That's
but it was
amazing.
good whilst it lasted. It was good fun. Wicked place.
Yeah. Well, if you saw the pictures I was doing 11, 12 years ago, it would be way more embarrassing. So this holds up incredibly well. And the double shadow I would not notice. But who's got the
Okay.
time to fake that or whatever?
Yeah.
This one, okay, this is one of the last old ones. I remember you did this, and this was before the Model S launched. And I remember
Yeah.
I remember going to the store, like in the mall, and seeing this on like a 20-foot wide banner at like the Tesla shop in 2013 or something. And I was like, it was just so cool to see this. I was like, oh, like they're probably going to go places because they hired the right guy to present the car.
You're hinging their $700 stock share price on my early photography. I tell you what, I should have done.
You were established at this point.
Yeah, enough. This company was pretty small at this point, right? So
very small.
Yeah, very small. And so I sent a mail out to their London office. I think their London office had just opened, and I sent a mail out to it. And I think the story was there's a guy called Don who hired me, who was in charge of. I say he's in charge of their marketing, but he's just in charge of Tesla in the UK at that point, I think, pretty much. And they had this little store. And I think he walked into it on day one, and on top of the mail pile, I think he walked in and was like, oh, I need to get some photography for this place, which was the correct attitude. And he picks up the mail, and I think he said on top of the mail pile was my promo. And he just looked at it and was like, oh, he'll do. That's this guy will probably have to do something. So they basically hired me, and we went out and drove around London in a red Roadster and shot it all over the place. And those pictures got back to the US, and the guys in the US decided they liked them. And then they would, every time they opened a store somewhere in Europe, they'd just send me to wherever and shoot like local stuff. So they didn't really want like California pictures in the Berlin store and stuff like that. So they mix it together, and they just used to send me on an EasyJet flight somewhere, and I'd spend a day shooting it. Anyway, so this was one of those things. They were bringing out this Model S. No one knew what it was. No one cared at that point. I remember we wheeled that car. I say we, Tesla, wheeled that car out of a trailer in Santa Barbara, and we drove it up and down the main drag in Santa Barbara doing pictures of it, and no one even knew what it was. No one. And one guy came over who was like some Silicon Valley guy. I was like, oh, I've heard about this thing. And they're like, yeah, do you mind if you just take any pictures? He's like, yeah, shit, yeah, sure. Can I, so casual. And then we put it back in the trailer and take it somewhere else. And that was the extent of the whole thing. Anyway, this was that. We just took it out on that road, which is where the designer lived, and we shot it with the red car. It was as simple as that. It was as low production value as you could possibly get, because I didn't know any better.
And did they make this crop like the ocean rotation?
The ocean's like, no. I think that might just be the full frame. And there's so much wrong with this picture. I don't even want to go into it. But
no, we won't go into it. No. I don't. Yeah, that's not what I genuinely. I love it, and I think it's cool, and I love the shadow, and I love that you shot this. And like I said, seeing it huge, and already I love your work, and so seeing it was cool. So I purely want to bring it up just for I think it's a really cool, like, outstanding photo. I hate the word. I hate the word dynamic, but I make an exception. Like this is like dynamic. There's like action. It's very impactful.
I could tear this to pieces.
No. We're not. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing. So,
it's another old.
This is. I keep saying we're done with old photos. So this is like I've got 2 from this set, and they're low res. And I'm like, I don't know how you like. I don't know. Was this light painted or what?
Yeah, it's light painted back in the day when you could leave a line down the side of the car and no one cared.
I like that's a good highlight. I like it. It's good. I don't know. I don't know how it's. I don't know. I never can do it in like places where there's this much ambient light. It always just looks like shit when I try it.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think there's only ambient light behind it. I think on the right was a park.
Okay.
This is in Berlin. and that is, I think, Stratos #1. I think there's a prototype one, and that is #1. So it's a kind of a
Yeah, I've
significant
I've
car.
seen the prototype because it's like matte orange or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Or
and the
matte
same
hot
guy.
fluorescent pink thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the same guy, I think, had both. I think he had both those cars. He was a Stratos guy, or he was a Bugatti guy, or something. But that, yeah. And we just drove it around Berlin for a day and shot it, and it was like completely casual and really cool. And Berlin was kind of empty. It was very, very strange. I don't know if you could do that. Now we drove it into the middle of this park and shot it. We drove it. Where else did we do it? All over the place. It was with a guy called Mick Walsh, who is a journalist in the UK, and he was very casual about it, and it was very good fun. Yeah. So
That's awesome. Who
yeah,
was it the idea to shoot it at night, or was that just the circumstance? And it's like, oh, I
I
guess
think
I'll
we just
just.
spent the whole day doing it and couldn't stop basically because everywhere we went, it was like, oh, it looks really cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, I bet.
But this was obviously right at the. I think it was like the last two shots we did were here. Yeah, it was a long day. It rained as well. I think that might have had quite a lot to do with the fact that we did it in the night because I think it stopped raining. So yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Okay. This is a little bit more modern. This is a
Newer.
991.2.
I love it. Yeah, good. Well done. Thank you.
On your website, you say you're not a fan of unnecessarily large production crews. You also say on your website you hate conference calls, which is basically what this is. So
this is not a conference call. This is
appreciate you doing this.
I hate conference calls because no one understands me anyway, and then you put me into 8 people, and then they have no idea what you're saying, so it becomes a complete jungle. But anyway, this was for a magazine. I can't remember who it was for, but it was in Mallorca, I think, and it was just a beautiful place, and it was in this lava field, and that really did look like that.
The moon really looked like that.
Yeah, it's on like a 400mm lens or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know what I was using at that point, but yeah, I know it's proper. I'm like half a mile across this lava field.
Oh, that's so cool! I love that. I love that. I've loved shooting at like 200 mils, like whenever, so then I got like a bad like 150 to 600 just to mess with shooting from even further. And it is a lot of fun, but I had no idea. That is so cool. You've got lights on the rocks a little bit.
Yeah, there is flash in that.
Okay.
I don't remember anything about, obviously there's one each side because the car is uniformly lit. You can see the shadow.
It's very uniform.
Yeah, it's just one each side of the car, just firing across the frame, like this. And and I do remember, I think that was the days of Pocket Wizards, and I don't know if you owned Pocket Wizards, but they were very good.
I still use Pocket Wizards. What do people use now?
I use a flash system that has it built in, so I don't have to think about it.
Right.
And Pocket Wizards are just. They're very good until they're not very good, and then they are just, the deal. It's just something about them, and they just drop off, And I had I think one working Pocket Wizard, one that would receive anyway, or and the other one, the other flash, I think I had it on a PI, or not PI, what are they called? Like a receiver. So because the Pocket Wizard wouldn't work, so I was like trying to angle them. It was a fight.
Yeah, sometimes the pole will give it interference, and it's like it's supposed to be near a pole at all times because it's it's on a light.
Exactly.
And if I use them for remote triggers a lot. Like they're really good for that. But sometimes like I have one that will work. Like only one can receive and do it. You know what I mean? It's a whole thing. They can be a pain, but they're still okay. But
I have PTSD. I can't actually. I can't look at a Pocket Wizard without some sort of response. Sorry, Pocket Wizard.
So can you tell me a little bit about like work like, and I don't want to say anything that's gonna like hurt like a job or something. And no, I mean, no one's gonna see this, but I don't want anything to like hurt a job. But but you said you don't like unnecessarily large production crews. Was there something that like brought you to that conclusion? Because I love your style, because it seems like most people, they think that's the next step, is like working with a big crew, doing a big thing. And like what you do so well, I mean, among other things, is going, and it's just like, one man, and you go and you get this incredible stuff, and it's just like, it just seems like you work fast and no bullshit, and I love that.
There were a couple of jobs that made me realize this wasn't for me, but I won't go into that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's totally
but
cool.
The gist of it is that I started as a news photographer, as a press photographer. And so I would go in, and you didn't know what you were going to get, and then you got what you got, and it was your job to make something of the situation you were given.
Yeah.
And I think with this, it's obviously, I don't think one way of working is better than the other, but the thing I realized I was good at was that you could throw me into a situation and I would get something out of it, because with new stuff, there's no option. Like if you come back to the office with nothing, or with garbage, you've got some answers to, got some questions to answer. So I don't know. I just, it wasn't for me, basically. It became
Absolutely.
more about managing people than it did about taking pictures. And I don't really, it's not what I'm into. So
yeah, I don't work well with like half a dozen people looking over my shoulder.
No. And I in order to do what I do, you have to be aware of what's going on. You have to be present in the moment, whatever the expression is. And as soon as you've got like someone asking you, what do I do with this, or where do you want this and something other, or what are you going to do about lunch? It's like, I'm doing something. I'm here to do this. And I just didn't have the mental capacity for managing a bunch of people. And I don't know. I mean, I could.
You don't have to name any names or anything. That's a perfect explanation.
There's been moments where, there's been, how to explain this? There's been moments when I've been very grateful for having four assistants on set. Like there are things like that. And the thing I really love is having a digitech. That's a real luxury, because having someone being able to pull a card out of a camera, having someone put it on screen, muck around with it, and know what you're getting as you're going along is really cool. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that a lot. But I don't know. Yeah. For what I do, it doesn't seem to add up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense.
The rest of it, I mean, yeah.
So this is your 912. Is that right? Oh, it's not on the screen. I'm looking at it. I'm enjoying this photo on my own personal screen, but there we go. This is your 912?
Yeah, that was it's quite funny that it's meant to look like a pristine shell. That's before it went off to be mended, because it was such a piece of, it was just a disaster, that car. It was awful. So you can see like the I can't point to it, but the bottom below the B pillar, it's all been cut off. Yeah, there, down there. It's all missing.
Right?
But I don't know why I did it. I did it before and after. There's a shot of the completed car in the same position in daylight, and that I took 3 years after that. But I just did it because I fancied doing it. I thought it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
the sheet metal that I could not do it, and so that was that. And the fact it's sitting on a pallet, on a, what do you call it, furniture dolly, that just puts it at about the right height, so it looks like it's on the road. Yeah. So funny that I didn't mean for that to look that good. It was literally a reference photo. And then it looks like that. I got really into it, started lighting it. It was, it looks really cool. So but it's funny that shot. You see it all over the place, and you think,
Pinterest, which is like the worst site ever, really loves your work. And so I'll find a picture in an image search, then it's on Pinterest, and you can't find the source, you can't find anything about it. It just like strips it of anything. It's I don't mean to go to Pinterest, but I end up there looking for.
I didn't even know, but thank you.
This
Oh
is one of
yeah.
your more famous shoots, and this was the Chris Harris shooting the 3 hypercars together. I mean, you have like a million people would say bangers from this set. They're so good. Like every shot here. I mean, like this. I just love looking at this photo, and what a cool opportunity. Like, what can you tell us about that?
It nothing really. Chris in his standard format was he just, mate, we're going to go and photograph these 3 cars. I've got, blah blah, and off we go. And then it was like, here's a whole track and 3 supercars to do what you want to. And they had to shoot a video. The video was the key thing, right? It was all about the video. But we obviously got the opportunity to do this as well. And
Did you just have to stay out of the way of the video, or did they employ you
no,
to
I
help a
think
little bit? Or
I've always worked quite well with video crews because because I'm one person, right? So I think when they were shooting video, I was shooting stills. It was as simple as that. And I don't know why I was there. I think Chris sold the story to a couple of people, but it was just cool. It was like really wicked day, and we did it for 2 days actually.
Yeah, I've got another one from here. Like, just getting this, like, getting that car sharp and having the 918 there. It's so incredible.
That's all about the drivers, though. I mean, that is literally like just point the camera at that and then you get it right. It's not like it's. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I could mess that up. I'd be like, "Oh, this incredible drift. Did you get it? No, it's all blurry."
Right. Well, there's that, but yeah, no. I mean, it helps having 2 people that can fling a car around a corner like that, which is an art form in itself. So, yeah.
Were they doing full for this? Were they doing full laps and you were just waiting in this corner, or were they kind of doing the corner over and over?
No, I think. I can't remember whether we went from corner to corner to corner, or whether I think we went from corner to corner on this and just shot it as we went around the track. But this was really for video. This was what this was all about. So. And I just happened to be there gathering it up. So
that's awesome. This was on your website. So this is some subtle lighting. It's one of the most spectacular cars in the world. Is this at the Porsche Museum? Or not Porsche, Mercedes Museum.
I hope it's not the Porsche Museum.
They're in the same town.
Right, it's down the road. I think there's 2. Are there 2 of those in the world or 3 of those? I think there's 2 of those in the world, and I think Mercedes had both of them. And that was the ancient, that was Mr. Uhlenhaut's coupe that he drove to the shops and stuff. So that was a road legal version of that car, and that's their test track. I don't know what those fans do. I imagine that's something to do with, like, you drive a van past it and work out if it's going to fall over or something. I don't know. But anyway, there's a whole row of those fans, and had the whole run on the track for that. It was with a journalist called Andrew Frankel, who just gets access to the most amazing stuff. And that was, I think, the most amazing stuff. It was really, really cool.
That is. Yeah, I love the value difference, like those dark fans and then this light car, and then plus the pop of flash.
Yeah, and that's probably closer. Nice. That's probably closer to the lighting that I do now than it was. You can see a trend. Now I've never really thought about this. I don't really look at this stuff very much, but you can see a transition from the overlit to almost not lit.
Yeah,
sort of feel to the whole thing. So yeah.
So you said that he gets crazy access to stuff. I have to ask, like, what have you? Like, what's the most interesting car have you driven for the job?
Actually driven? I don't really drive.
You don't really drive anything?
No, not particularly. It's very rare that you do. I mean, and when you do, you move it around a parking lot. So you could say, I could say, I've driven a Koenigsegg. I've driven a Koenigsegg at 20 feet. Right?
I would count that. I have a list, and that would
count. I would dream that Koenigsegg. Yeah, no, I'd love to drive. I'd love to go completely mental in a Koenigsegg, but I've been 20 feet in a parking lot in a Koenigsegg. I don't know. Years ago, and this was really, really early on. I was doing a shoot with a Miura and a Ferrari Daytona, actually, not dissimilar to the one in the other shoot, and it was the Miura. I had a 72 an orange 72 911 that I bought when I was 24 or 25, and they were kind of worthless at the time. And and anyway, where I'm going with this is the Miura was basically the same color. It was like this luminous orange. And I said to the guy, "This is like my dream car in the coolest color." And he goes, "Well, you have to drive it." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I won't be doing that." And he goes, "No, you must. You absolutely must." And he wouldn't stop telling me that I had to drive this car. And I was like, "Bloody hell!" And the guy was like forcing me into driving this Miura. So after an hour of this, he's like, "Come on, let's go. Let's get in the Miura and go." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Get in the car." And I'm like, "Okay." And I get in this car, and we drive it up this road, which is like it's dead quiet road in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like shifting at 3,000 RPM. I'm terrified of driving this. Not that I'm going to crash it. I don't want it to explode. You know, I'm thinking it's just going to explode on me or something terrible is going to happen. And he goes, looks across. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know. What am I? He goes, "You don't shift a Miura at 3,000 RPM. You shifted at the red line or just beyond." And I'm like, "He's just go for it." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Go." He goes, I rebuild these engines for a living. Wow. If you blow it up, it's my problem." And I'm like, "Okay." So we went bananas in a Miura.
Oh my God.
For 5-10 minutes. And I got out and I was just shaking like this. Yeah, and that I think might be the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's incredible. That's really good. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's been lots of other really cool stuff, but that was mental. And I was 26 or so. I should not have been driving that car. It was, and I still remember it. I can still, the thing that sticks out in my mind is the feeling of getting out of it afterwards, more than actually driving the car, and just being like, "Oh, what on earth?" You can see why people like those things, though. And the ergonomics of it, like you would think we're over there and your steering wheel's here and your shifters like you're leaning across into the next room. I did enjoy that.
What a great story.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, we still got some more. We got a little bit of time and just not as many photos. I love this one of the LC. I wanted to ask you, because in this set, of course, I don't have it in here, but you had one with a drone. You had shot this with a drone. Also, it looked like. Did you? Or was that? Was it from a mountain?
Yeah. You mean this shot from a drone or not?
Not this shot. Not this shot. In this set, there was one with a drone of this car.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Do you do stuff with drones?
Yes. Yeah.
A little bit.
I have an actual license for it, which is remarkable. Yeah.
So you're like a double pilot.
Well, the funny thing was, you're meant to do all this training for the drone thing, which is a different set of rules for that. And so I did all this training and then went online to book the test. And when you click onto the system, they go, "Oh, you've already got a pilot's license." And I was like, "Yeah." And they go, "Okay, answer these 20 questions." So answer these 20 questions. Like, "Yeah." And it was like, it's in the mail. And I'm like, "Is that all it took? I just spent a month learning all this stuff, and you asked me 20 questions, and now you just give me the license." So yeah, no. If you have a pilot's license, they give you the drone license on top.
That's pretty nice. That's a good perk.
Yeah, right. So that's why I've got it.
What do you do? What do you do with a drone to make it like? What do you have a creative approach to it? Because I feel like I was so resistant for years to like mess with the drone, because I'm like, I don't want to be flying, I want to be shooting, and it's like I don't want to get the same shot.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. I was actually, because I'm such a good boy, I was like terrified of the rules. It was like, I can't do this because there's all these rules, and I don't want to. And the rules aren't particularly difficult to follow. So not really. I got into the tracking with a drone, and I can't show you the picture, unfortunately, because it was just done the other day and it hasn't been published yet. But I saw, actually, that's a good example of me seeing someone's stuff and thinking, "Oh, that's a nice idea." And I can't remember whose shot it was, but I saw a shot with a car done. It was a drone tracking shot, and so I went out and bought some NDs, and then the shot that I ended up doing was the front of a Land Rover, and the drone is flying backwards through a woods, so it gives a very 3D, everything's washing. And it took a couple of goes to get it right, but it did work, which was remarkable. And as it was flying along, it was shaving the trees, and the bits of tree were falling into the car, which was it was like through this.
Wow.
Anyway, but it worked, and so and there's that. But it's always, you know, when you get something new, it's always fun to try and work out what you can do with it, isn't it? So, so that's one thing. I wonder what the next thing is. But with some of these drone videos now, you see it, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible what you can do. I always love finding new perspectives, and that's, you know, certainly a different perspective, especially when you can be out somewhere like, you know, remote, wherever, and be somewhere impossible to shoot from.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it just opens up another, you know, the whole set of angles that you could never do. Oh, crikey, here we go. Look at this. This was the picture that made me move to America, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's significant.
That is the defining moment in my life. I was on a job in Palm Springs, and it was a Bentley job. And a friend of mine, Aaron Robinson, who's a journalist, but he also has an aeroplane. He phones up or sends me a text or whatever and goes, "Do you want to go flying with some friends of mine this evening in these Warbirds out of Torrance?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Of course I do." So I drove from Palm Springs to LA, got in the back of one of those, and they went out and did this formation flying. That's Catalina Island off the coast.
Yeah.
And so we did all this stuff, took all these pictures, and it was just wicked. And then we're coming into land in LA, and I looked out. I mean, we're flying over a city which you kind of can't do in the UK. You're not, you know, there's no big cities apart from, I guess, London and Manchester, or whatever. But we were coming over this enormous city, and I'm looking out, and the sun has just set, and I thought, what am I? Like, this is like, flying is my passion. Like, I love cars.
Yeah.
I just can't get past flying. Like, it's you know, whatever, does something to me. But anyway, and I looked out, and there were, you know, 3 other aircraft off the right wing and another off the left. I thought, what am I doing? Why if this? If I can, I want to do this. I want this to be my life. This is cool. And so I phoned the immigration lawyer the next morning. I was like, "Get me!"
Oh my God!
This. Yeah,
that's incredible.
So, yeah, but that was good fun. It was a wicked flight.
Wow.
You can't do that in the UK. Well, you probably can do that in the UK. You just got to be a millionaire.
Yeah, no, I've loved seeing you've posted stories on Instagram about how, like, radio control, like the tower, like communications, FAA, everything is so much better here than in the UK. And I was like, oh, this is like very eye-opening stuff. Like, it's absolutely fascinating.
I don't want to. This is not the point of this story, and I don't want to go too far down the. And I don't want to be rude about the UK because it's a fantastic place to fly, but the US is the be all and end all of all aviation stuff ever. It's so good. It's such a great country to fly. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to talk about your plane and all that stuff and everything, but we've got so many more good, amazing photos. This is the one I used as the main image, and I'm like, how did you do that? Was this attached? Was it like attached on like a rig? I mean, I don't know.
It's bolted onto that car. It's clamped on with a tripod, I think. Maybe, yeah, it's a tripod. Just put a tripod on the front of that car with clamps. Maybe ratchet straps, but whatever. It's affixed to the car. It's a fairly proven technique. Like a lot of Evo stuff.
Yeah,
you see shots in Evo like with half a car in them. It's because the other half of the car has all its tripod or whatever stuff attached to it. It's like a rig shot, you know. So yeah. So that was the deal with that. And actually, that shot, I was given a sheet of like, here's what we want. You know, when you go on a shoot and they go, "Oh, here's some stuff we'd like it to look like." There was a shot by a guy called Richard Pardon of an Indy car, and it was looking down the back wheel of the car, and it's really cool. It's the same deal but back to front.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and he goes, the art director goes, "Oh, we want something like this." And I looked at it, well, obviously don't want it to look exactly the same, so I'll go to the front of the car and do it the other way around. Kind of. I mean, it's not quite the same angle, but it's the same principle.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Where was I? Landing 20 feet off to the left. The thing's on a remote.
Okay.
It's a complete lie. The car is going. I think we're pulling the car along with a rope. In fact, no, we're not. We're pulling it along with a tractor. I think we did it with a tractor.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
wasn't sure. I mean, I wasn't sure if they were. I figured they weren't going this fast, but I wasn't sure if you were.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
really
know. I
sad
wasn't sure
though.
how long the range was, but I guess you're walking alongside it.
Yeah, he's not going. He's not going quick. I'm like duck down, so it looks like you're going for it, and obviously the body language is right because it matters when you're that. You got that much person poking out the car. If he was sat
Oh
bolt
yeah.
up, it's going to ruin the shot. So I had him crouch down a bit, and yeah,
Oh,
it's a
that's
shame. I
amazing.
hate having to take the because it's. I love the mystery of it, right? It's kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. No,
Well, I
it's
mean, anyone gets to 54 minutes in this is like a little Easter egg for them. So most people, the
yeah,
mystery won't be ruined. This whole McLaren set is insane. Like, I love it. Just amazing.
cool, good. That was.
I don't know what else to
That was
say.
as
But
simple
yeah,
as just taking the car and shooting it. There's no magic.
yeah.
But you know what Tokyo is like. It's just you can put a
I've never
car
been. I've
literally
never
anywhere.
been. I could imagine from TV and stuff, but your photos, you do paint a picture here of it. The whole
It's so
set
easy.
is incredible.
Cool. Good. Glad you like.
Yeah. I want to get to the a few of these, but yeah, this so how did were the horses on cue or what?
Pretty much. We were shooting this car on this ranch, and the horses were due to come out at a certain time. I think they let them out in the evening to for them to graze or whatever. So we knew they were going to come down here, and I was like, well, if they're coming down there, let's put a car there, I guess, and then we'll just see what happens. And it worked. So
Yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah, so cool. So cool. And then another one from this, like I just love this one. I'll let you talk. I'll tell you what I like is that this is like you're showing like a detail. This is like a in logo design, it's like you want to communicate the idea in the simplest way possible, and this is communicating the idea in the simplest, like most elegant way possible. Like this is a Range
yeah,
Rover that can do this, like, and you don't need to show
yeah,
the whole thing. It's so elegant to show just this detail. It's so cool. I love like the slightly looks like slightly long exposure water ripples, like just super cool, just like such like effective, like not just photography but like communicating something.
right.
That's what's
Yeah, and
great.
it's not often that you can do a wheel shot that is interesting, right? It's kind of a difficult thing because a wheel is a wheel. So it was,
Yeah,
find the point in the river where the logo is, with the water's rushing just below the logo, and then grab it, and that was that. So yeah,
yeah. It's such a cool idea. Some of these I marvel at the technically aspect, but this is just the idea. It's like 100 people could shoot this car in this place and not have this thoughts. And it's just like it's so effective and cool. This is
so
more off-roading. I just want to know how muddy you got shooting this stuff.
extremely, yeah. It's Britain, right? You're up to your waist in mud. Yeah, that was a journalist called Ben Oliver. It was in the, I think it's Car Magazine in the UK, and that is I don't think it's the first, not Defender, is it? Series Land Rover, but I don't think it's the first one, but it might have been the second one or the third one. It's a very, very early
Wow.
car. And same deal. Here's a bit of Scotland. Here's a car. Off you go and shoot. So, and that was when when they were finishing off the last Defender, and they brought out that Heritage Edition thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Sorry, I don't mean to race through these, but yeah,
Cool.
I love like this. I just love this. This shows like your humor and just the again, like bringing an idea to it, not just shooting a car, and not just having a beautiful not beautiful car, but having a car in a beautiful place and capturing it well, but then also having like fun with it. This was just great. This sums up this car to me.
So, I, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what it's meant to do. So let's leave it at that.
This was in your hometown, right? Or near Palm Springs?
Yes, it was, but it wasn't deliberate. So, it's such a long story. Are we trying to go for an hour here, or are we going to go?
We're trying to go for an hour, but like we might go over like 5 minutes if you have a minute, if you have the time. But yeah,
Okay.
I know BMW does a lot of stuff at like Thermal Club out there.
Yeah, it's nothing.
I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's any connection.
Would not. BMW probably wouldn't have been on board if they had known what we were doing. But yeah, so we were shooting this thing out. It was just a first drive, a car and driver, and this car. I really like BMWs and they're cool cars, but this thing, it's like it looks a certain way in pictures, and then when you see it in real life, it's like eesh. And as we were driving it out to shoot it, I can't remember. I think I was with Alana Scher, and I can't remember if she had the idea or I did, but anyway, the idea, it was like that whole Austin Powers thing where he's naked and the objects are in front of his, as he moves around, there's like a teapot that goes across the screen.
Right.
And wouldn't it be good to shoot it like just with things in front of it? So the first shot I did was like a palm tree right through the middle of it. And then there was something else with a mannequin that was next to the side of the road, did that. And then we were walking through, we were driving through this Walmart parking lot, and there was a guy in an RV, and he sees the car's like luminous, like whatever it is, and it's driving through this parking lot, and he starts like looking at it, doing this, oh, do you want to swap, with my RV thing that people do all the time? And I said, got out, I said, I don't want your RV, but I would really like your dog. So he gets his dog, and we take a picture of his dog in front of his car, and sent all these pictures over to Car and Driver, and they were like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe there's a cover in this. And at this point, I'm like, I'm quite excited because I'm like, this will make a really naughty cover. Do that a lot. And so we reshot the car, and the car, I just did it locally.
Okay.
But that dog is a trained Hollywood stunt dog.
Wow, that's why he's so well behaved.
For the shot, yeah. It's a pretty badly behaved one, but it is a real Hollywood stunt.
Not well trained, but trained.
And so this is the second iteration of that idea. That was the thing.
No, this was the final one, like.
The second dog, because the first one was the guy with the RV, and this is a completely
right. Okay.
Well, back to redo it properly, and that's what we ended up with. And then they didn't run it on the cover, which I was, yeah. Anyway,
well, it's this. We don't have time to go to this. I'm like, I don't know how. Like, this is just like a brilliant shot. You must have had some help and some. But just like masterfully shot. I don't know if you want to add anything or if you want to skip to the Saratoga Porsche project.
Yeah, actually, I do. That would be nice. That was lit with a $12 flashlight. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my god! Oh, that is.
We got there. The location was absolutely awful. The location was really cool. The light was garbage. And there wasn't any way around it other than to shoot it in the dark and light the cars individually. So that's what I came out with. But yeah.
Oh my god, that makes it like so much cooler. It makes me so much more depressed that it came out so that you did
pretty amateur effort. Yeah, I don't think, Aston weren't particularly happy with those shots. They didn't love them, which made me a bit sad because I kind of did like them, and I don't really like much more. I don't like my own work very much, but was one of them that I was like, oh, fine, this came out all right. And then
whenever car photos can have like a mood and a feel and like that, like I feel like that really elevates it, and this like for sure has that. Cool. But yeah, I want to talk about the Saratoga Museum, automotive museum project, and this is like the coolest thing. So like, please tell us a little bit about this.
This is a car collection that belongs to one guy who didn't particularly want his name on the exhibition, but I'll say it anyway. It's a guy called Stephen Harris, and I've known Stephen I sold him that orange 911 that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
That's how I met him, and we stayed in touch and all something other, and I've shot various cars of his over the years. The museum wanted an exhibit. I think they were just looking for something. And he said, well, why don't you put the cars on show? And they were into it. And so they decided that's what they're going to do. And Stephen said, well, if we're doing that, we need to do a book and some merchandise. And in fact, I don't know if you can see them, but up here, are a bunch of.
Yes, you got the prints. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
came from. Oh, there we go. They came from the museum, from the gift shop, and so we did all this stuff so that they had some motionized and stuff. And the book's still in the. It's been held up with COVID and all that kind of stuff, but what it involved was shooting about 30 cars or 28 cars, and I didn't want to get involved in moving 28 cars around, and I also had this sort of thing where I wanted to build a studio. I wanted to build a portable. I've had it in my head for years. I wanted to build a portable studio. And it's like, well, this is the opportunity to do this. And I ran it by him, and he was interested. He's an architect, so he was interested in doing this because it was another, sort of building thing. And so we shot that right at the garage where they're stored. So the cars only really had to roll about 20 feet from the parking space to be.
Did you drive any of the 20 feet?
Yeah, I had a big dome built.
Yeah, I've got a picture. I've got from your stories a little bit of a behind the scenes.
Yeah, with me sat on top. It turned out it was strong enough that you could climb on top of it, which I really enjoyed. So it just basically was a huge dome, and then I sort of brought in a load of lighting that I thought would work for it, because I've never done this before. It wasn't like it's not like shooting in a normal studio. You can't start bouncing. You can bounce light around a bit, but you can't. I mean, this isn't a great example of how. I'm trying to think of if I've got anything else that might be. But anyway, the light. It turned out that the only real way to get it to work was to light it from a single light source and then add in light around the edge. But the bulk of it is from a single light source, and then I built a very long, I don't know what they're called. What's that thing? What are those sticks called that people use that are like they have a ice light? Ice light, yeah. Yeah. So I built an ice light that's like 15 foot long, and then started lighting the thing with this ice light, and that's how it all sort of came together.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the.
Did you get to move that? Did you get to move this car 15 feet?
I drove that car. That's a $4 million car.
Yeah, that's an SCRS. That's like since I have an SC, so the SCRS is like the holy grail. It's so cool.
Yeah. No, we talk about stupid things that you've driven. I mean, I'd say again, I drove it 20 feet in a parking lot, but it's quite funny because we went to the museum the other day. I've been a few times now, and I took my little boy to see the cars, and we were at the museum, and the docent comes over and he goes, "You see that car over there?" And I said, "Yeah." And I didn't know I'd been involved in the project. I was just a guy looking around, and he goes, "You see that car?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "It's $4 million." I was like, "Oh, really?" Whatever. But yeah, that's a real thing. That thing, it's a proper, they're rare as anything. And,
yeah, well, the whole exhibit is brilliant. I mean, all the photos from it, like we've got a link in the description so people will look at your website and they'll see that. But did you freak out when you've built this thing and then it's like not exactly working like immediately? I mean, like what is your thought process there?
No, because I had it in my head that it might not do what I thought it wanted to do, and I just brought enough stuff with me to get by. Because I shot these were shot in on the East Coast in New York, and so I was a long way from home and I didn't have all my stuff with me, but I had enough to build that ice light, and I did a lot of trips to Home Depot. Like I went through their PVC pipe section like a meth addict. So I spent a lot of time. So I think the first 2 days I was there was like, okay, let's just get the cars in and just see what this looks like, because I have no idea how this is going to pan out. And after spending 2 days doing that, it was like, okay, now we're good. We can. And I wanted, the whole point of doing this in the studio was I wanted uniformity, because when we talked about doing these photographs, it was like some of these cars were on the East Coast, some of them were on the West Coast, and they all had to be moved around to this one garage. But I didn't want to just be taken out into like a woods and shit, I wanted every single shot to have the same lighting and the same feel and everything like that. So that was why I ended up doing this tent thing. So once I got the lighting nailed down, it was like, okay, now we just stick with this and do everything the same. And it works better on some cars than others, but the gist of it, the whole overall feel is fairly uniform. So
absolutely. How was it? I mean, was the tent opaque? Like, could you shoot in the daytime, or did you shoot at night, or what?
that was the whole point of it. Yeah, was to try and
Yeah.
control the light, so that it was
Okay.
opaque to a point. It wasn't fully light tight. It was as good as I could get.
Okay.
I really want to build a Mark II version of it because there's so many things you learn from doing that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just the coolest thing. Like, you could just roll this thing. You could shoot green screen stuff for movies with it, whatever, but you can just roll it to any location as long as it goes down right and you set it up right and it fills with air right, and there's a couple of key things that have to be correct with it. As long as everything is sorted out and you know what you're doing, you're then like, oh, now I have a proper place to work.
Yeah, I saw this in your stories and your behind the scenes. I was like, this is a game changer, and it's the coolest thing, and it's so innovative. Where is the Mark I tent now?
Well, it's stored in a secret location. I left it on the East Coast. I just couldn't. Yeah, and I left all the lighting there. It was really dumb, actually. But all this lighting with me, actually. Anyway, it's all just sat there on the East Coast. And I don't know. I'd be more inclined to build a second one to bring it back. I've done this with it now. I know its limitations, and I would like to try doing it better. But it just takes a bit of energy and time.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible. That's such a cool thing to end on. I'm so glad that, I loved hearing you describe that and all of these. So thank you. Thank you again so much for coming on and doing this. And thanks for talking about your old.
I'm mystified that anyone cares anyway. And then to find that you were actively it's quite hard.
I'm probably not even number one in the fan club. I'm probably like number 15 or something. So
maybe I don't know. I think
yeah. Do you have anything you want to promote or anything or tell people to check out?
Not particularly. I don't have any scented candles to sell or anything like that. I do that book when it comes out. It will be out in due course. I mean, if you like. I don't know. Yeah. I wish I could get those pictures down off that shelf and show them. But the cars are absolutely beautiful cars. So if you're into Porsches and you like this stuff, then I think that book's going to be a real piece. So
yeah, I'll definitely look for it. I'll look for it for sure.
Good.
Cool. Thank you so much. I won't say no. So thank you so much, James. We'll end it, but thanks again, and thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.